the object of a banknote is peculiar because it's not just significant of value, it's people project all their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their wants, their desires onto money. And so the banknote, the design on a banknote becomes representative of those things. A good design can actually become almost like an avatar for an entire country's hopes and dreams and fears. So, I mean, for example, I'm from the UK, okay, I'm speaking from the UK, and it's out of circulation now, but there was a red £50 note. This banknote has a very specific meaning in the psyche of people from the UK, because you've got all these elements that could only be from the United Kingdom. You've got, like, the portrait of the Queen, for instance, is weird. Okay, it's the weirdest portrait I have ever seen. It doesn't even look human. It's slightly frog-like, slightly reptilian, which is interesting. And she's got this half smile, and her eyes seem to sort of follow you around the room as you look at her. Very peculiar. And you've got this psychotic red blended with this steely grey, flowers with barbed wire, and all these slightly gothic features, Masonic pyramids as well. So this piece of paper could only be from the UK. And there is a vague idea of wealth in the UK that is very specific to the British psyche. And so this image, this design, it almost forms part of that vague idea of wealth, because it's been imprinted in the psyche of people from Britain. It's clear when you look at a design like this that it wasn't produced under a tight deadline. This is very, very well thought out design, probably by teams of people. They say that we're only conscious of 10% of our surroundings, and so the visual information on the banknote, even if you haven't looked at it closely, it sinks in, it deposits, no pun intended, on the psyche, and it forms part of the collective unconscious of a whole nation and a nation's self-image. So banknote design is really, really powerful. Our greatest strength as human beings is our intent. So our intention is very, very powerful, beyond anything else in the animal kingdom. And the first symptom of this is that we're excellent builders, and that's self-evident. There's a great example that Steve Jobs gave in an interview once when he was talking about the invention of a bicycle.
I remember reading an article when I was about 12 years old, I think it might have been in Scientific American, where they measured the efficiency of locomotion for all these species on planet Earth. How many kilocalories did they expend to get from point A to point B? And the condor won, came in at the top of the list, surpassed everything else, and humans came in about a third of the way down the list, which was not such a great showing for the crown of creation. And but somebody there had the imagination to test the efficiency of a human riding a bicycle. Human riding a bicycle blew away the condor, all the way off the top of the list. And it made a really big impression on me that we humans are tool builders, and that we can fashion tools that amplify these inherent abilities that we have to spectacular magnitudes.
So the second consequence of our intent is that we make things with a very high degree of permanence. This is not to be confused with durability. Yes, we can make things that stand the test of time, but we also seem to inherently demand that things have a level of permanence. I mean, for example, when I pull away from a chair, and it sounds crazy example, when I pull away from a chair, it'll still be there. And even if I leave the room and return 10 minutes later, the chair's still there. All our little trinkets and tools are where we left them, even if we leave the home for a month. I know it sounds weird, but we're unique. in this respect. There's no other animal that builds things with such permanence. We're very, very unique. We create industrial superstructures, supply chains, logistical procedures, and we produce so much stuff that is so permanent it can't even be recycled back into its original raw materials. I mean, it's very well documented how much plastic there is in the oceans. And this is all because, in a weird way, we demand permanence to things. The other element to our intent is its imaginative component. The depth of our imagination is a consequence of the unique human ability to feel deep emotions. That's actually where it comes from. Our emotional capacity acts as almost like a dynamo that inspires originality. This aspect allows for solutions to problems that do not have a linear precedent, and we call this inspiration. Emotion energizes intent, and it allows us to reach far out in conceptual space and time and bring back something that could not have existed by building on previous ideas. So I consider human intent to be the true currency that separates us from all other species and gives us benchmarks in swiftness, permanence, originality in our creation, in our building. In the palm of your hand is a uniquely human product, and this is totally idiosyncratic from anything else. It's imbued with a totally unique level of permanence, creativity, detail, and human labor. So I guess what I'm saying is, a lot of people like to think of money as something cold and inhuman, but actually I view this as the most humanistic product that you can ever actually design as an artist or designer, and that's the real reason why I love money design.